There was an announcement about Solana and the CME potentially offering a Solana futures ETF, Frank. I think that would be amazing for the industry because it would be the precursor to eventually getting a Solana cash ETF like you've seen with Ethereum. So as this starts to flesh out, as the Trump administration's regulatory framework starts to flesh out, I think you'll see that we're literally in the opposite. It's almost like you went through the Hall of Mirrors in Alice in Wonderland. We were in a very anti-crypto position in the Biden administration, and now we're going to almost the exact opposite in the Trump administration. So I like, very bullish this year for most of these coins.
The crypto landscape is undergoing a seismic shift, driven by none other than President Donald Trump. His administration is tearing down restrictive regulations and replacing them with a pro-growth, pro-innovation framework. This shift could propel Bitcoin, Ethereum, and especially Solana to new heights. The latest game changer? A potential Solana futures ETF paving the way for a Solana cash ETF that could remove barriers stifling crypto adoption. This isn't just a policy update, it's a regulatory revolution. Unlike Biden's restrictive stance, Trump's team is fueling a new era, setting the stage for what could be the biggest bull run in crypto history. Anthony Scaramucci, a key figure in both finance and politics, isn't just watching, he's calling it as he sees it. With his experience at Skybridge Capital and inside knowledge of Washington, he predicts a regulatory landscape that could push crypto beyond anything we've seen before. Buckle up, this ride is just beginning.
Kids, Frank, the crypto industry has the patience of a 7 or an 8-year-old, and they wanted Donald Trump to announce on January 20th at 12:01 that he was going to have a Bitcoin strategic reserve, and that would have been a bad idea because what David Sachs is doing is he wants to build a broad-based coalition that would include Democrats and Republicans to make something like a Bitcoin strategic reserve bipartisan. Otherwise, what will end up happening is you get the reserve under Republican, Democrats get a hold of the White House, they take the reserve back, and you have sort of this flipping and flopping going back and forth as opposed to a consolidated long-term visionary decision. So the move to build a working committee, the move to sort of address this and look at it over the next 6 months, I think soured the industry. And so some of the short-term traders, particularly those with leverage, sold their positions, not getting the super great news. But I think if you read through the executive orders, which we did, we're quite bullish on them. I think David has the right ideas, and you've got positive regulatory people at the SEC and Treasury.
All right, so you mentioned the SEC. Obviously, Gary Gensler out at the SEC. The thought that there's going to be a big change in regulations. What are the regulations that, in your mind, are holding the cryptocurrency industry back, specifically Bitcoin? I know you're a Bitcoin maximalist. You think the coin's going to hit 200,000 by the end of this year.
Yeah, so I mean, very, very simply, just guidelines. I was with Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase in Davos, who spoke on a panel together. Coinbase has been asking the SEC for over 2 years, just tell us what the rules of the road are. One of the big indictments of the Gensler piece of the Biden administration is it was a lot of regulation by enforcement. They're suing people left and right without giving them the appropriate guidelines. Even a federal judge said that was unfair and that it was incumbent upon the SEC to provide guidance. So I think this year, and certainly before February of 2026, we're going to get a piece of legislation related to crypto that will have specificity in it, related to stable coins, related to where Bitcoin is actually going to be regulated. Will it be at the SEC or the CFTC, as an example? I think the industry is really just looking for a set of rules that they can follow that is satisfactory to the United States government. And I think that happens. I began my Bitcoin journey about 5 years ago, and I've been tarred and feathered and praised as it goes up and down, and you oscillate between genius and dummy. But I think that Bitcoin now is representing where prices should have been in 2022. And said differently, if you look at the November Bitcoin futures approval, just studying administrative law, the spot ETF should have been approved sometime in the first quarter of 2022. So all of that delay caused a lot of that price damage. And so I see it here as the community seeing itself getting propitious, decent, middle-of-the-road regulation. And if you look at the people that the Trump administration has put into those positions, I think you end up getting that. And so 97,000, 98,000 is sort of where I thought we would be 3 years ago. So the real question is, will the institutions enter the game? And I think you see some of the endowments starting to do that. We know some of the sovereign wealth funds in the Middle East are quietly doing that. And so I think it's going to be a very good year for Bitcoin.
Where are you on this strategic reserve idea, if you were a betting man?
Well, I think it'll likely happen at a small level. I think David Sachs has been very smart to delay it. I think the executive order showed good judgment because you want to get the buy-in from the Republicans and the Democrats, not just one party. You'd hate to see a strategic reserve going into place, Republicans lose power, and then the Democrats pull the rug on Bitcoin and take it out of the strategic reserve. I think you need to get buy-in on both sides. I think it was very smart of David Sachs to make sure that there was a 6-month debate and 6-month analysis of this. But I do think you get something. Remember, we have 27 other things in our strategic reserve. It's not just gold and oil. There's trace minerals and other things that the country reserves. I think this is an asset that the country will want to own.
Can I ask you about Ethereum? Only because Don Jr. was out there saying it's going to go up. Let me tell you. I assume he has some of it, but do you have a take there?
Well, we do own ETH in small sizes. We're much bigger Solana fans than we are ETH. We don't have a negative opinion of ETH. My partner in law school classmate John Soulos is sort of an ETH maximalist, so he's got it in our portfolio. I think that Brett Messing and I just think that Solana is faster, it has lower gas fees, and I think it's the one that's going to win the race, if you will, in terms of going into the tokenization world. Right. If Larry Fink is right and we end up tokenizing stocks and bonds, I think Solana would probably be a more obvious choice.
Anthony, where do you land on this whole meme coin phenomenon? I asked, we were joking, it's not such a joke. A couple weeks ago, someone made this Sorkin coin, which, by the way, has, I don't know, I want to say happily or unhappily, but has dropped in value. I have nothing to do with it. But I've been following Dave Portnoy, who put out a meme coin during the Super Bowl weekend. It's called Jail Stool, and it's also dropped in value now. But I mean, it's still, it's got a market cap of $82 million, which is remarkable. I think, though, at one point it might have been, 4 or 5 times that. And I just wonder whether you look at that and say, these are sort of great signs because they're engaging people in all of this new world of crypto, or you think that it turns people off ultimately? What's your take? I mean, a lot of people are having fun with it, but if fun is sort of in the eye of the beholder because some people are making money, and I have to imagine others are not.
So literally, I have like a post-it on my computer, Andrew, please don't talk to Joe about the Trump meme coin. It's like right there below the camera. So I'm really doing the best I can not to talk about this stuff.
Notice I didn't talk about DJT. I'm talking about Mr. Portnoy.
We're talking about this category,
we're talking about the Sorkin coin. There's no Mooch coin?
No, there's no Mooch coin, Joe.
Not
but
yet.
if there is
there
a
will be in about an hour,
a Mooch
probably.
coin, Joe, I expect you to be the first buyer, and
I would definitely.
I'll make sure you're involved in the ICO,
Can
Joe.
Can we do it together somehow? We could cover the whole world that way.
Although, Joe, you'll be locked up for like 10 years in the Mooch coin. Okay, it'll almost be like the jail coin, where you'll be locked up in the Mooch coin in jail. But
you got to hold it for that long, like a lockup period. Literally a lockup.
That's so interesting, by the way, about about how Portnoy was doing it, which was he was saying, I'm not going to sell until it gets to what, $500 million or $1 billion or something.
I'm at a loss for all this. Why does the Sorkin coin have any value? I mean, you're a wonderful person, but
I think that's the question.
That is the question. By the way,
the question is, this is the stuff.
I don't think you'd ask it quite that way.
Well, this is the stuff when Becky is interviewing Warren Buffett and he's talking about cryptocurrency. This is the stuff that I think would aggravate him. I think if you're looking at this stuff, these are gambling tokens effectively, and there's a fury around them, and there's a tulip mania about them. And I think in the minds of some of the older investors, it causes contagion onto Bitcoin. People think, okay, well, maybe Bitcoin is just a very big meme coin.
Right.
But
What about the one that's called poop coin? I mean, there's that one was trading higher.
I don't know any poop coin or jail bond or jail whatever it's called coin or Trump
jail
coin.
Jail stool.
Jail stool. Okay, I own Bitcoin, Solana, Avalanche. We have a position in Polkadot and things like that, and these are assets that we think are going to grow in the world of tokenization. Of course, we believe that Bitcoin is digital property and a store of value.
Anthony Scaramucci, a longtime crypto advocate, shared insights into Bitcoin's trajectory. He believes Bitcoin's current price reflects where it should have been in 2022, delayed by slow regulatory approvals. With institutional investors, including endowments and sovereign wealth funds, quietly entering the market, he expects Bitcoin to surge to $97,000, $98,000. Scaramucci also supports David Sacks' strategic decision to delay the Bitcoin reserve process, ensuring bipartisan backing. While he holds some Ethereum, he favors Solana for its speed and low transaction fees. Let's dive deeper into his perspectives with exclusive interview clips.
Anthony, Bitcoin, stablecoin, meme coin, tokens, are they all the same thing?
No, and so what Bitcoin really is, and without giving up too much detail on television to bore people, but it's become a durable, stable, long-term store of value. And I say stable because it's never been hacked, it's sort of impregnable, and it's scarce and it's immutable. It's volatile though, and it goes up and down as the society is adopting Bitcoin. We've experienced high volatility in Bitcoin, but it's the best performing asset over the last 10 years. And so if you read something like Neil Ferguson's book, The Ascent of Money, it checks all of the boxes of what human beings like in their money in terms of using it as a technology to trade goods and services with each other. A meme coin is really just a gambling token. It has a blockchain technology to it, and you can transfer it back and forth to each other, but it really doesn't have that much value, and it hasn't really been adopted by the mainstream financial institutions. And you mentioned some other things. Those are also, security-like instruments in the world of technology, but nothing is as durable or as sustainable as Bitcoin.
And President Trump, right before Inauguration Day, created his own meme coin. What is your reaction to that?
Well, listen, I would ask people to read the Wall Street Journal's editorial yesterday, just describing the great conflict of interest that represents. And so Mr. Trump is basically setting up a gambling token 48 hours before he becomes the most powerful person in the world. And so that token rose in value, went down in value. People are trading that token around the world. And I think its fully diluted market capitalization is about $35 billion. Mr. Trump controls 80% of that coin. So there's a notional value there of $24 billion. Of course, he's locked into the coin for 3 years. But, listen, this is not something that I think any of us like, because it's a direct conflict of interest with what he's doing. And it will create a central clearing station, as the Wall Street Journal points out. You could end up in a situation where somebody could pay him to do things for them through that token. Now, I'm not suggesting anybody's doing that, but it's just the appearance of that impropriety, I think, weakens the presidency. And it also puts his commissioner-to-be, or his nominated commissioner, Atkins, at risk now when he's testifying, because they'll be saying to him, he's generally been a pro-crypto person, as you know. I'm a pro-crypto person. But he'll be saying, well, aren't you just acting in the personal interest of the President of the United States instead of the interest of the country? So I wish he didn't do that. But, with Donald Trump, you get the entire buffet table of Trump. You get some of the grift with some of the good business policies. And it's disappointing to see. But go to the Wall Street Journal. They blister President Trump with an analysis of what he did and how bad it actually is.
Anthony, on November 5th, the market trading value of Bitcoin was $68,317. As we speak, it is $106,269. What does that tell us?
Well, it tells you that tells you I should probably buy a Christmas gift from Donald Trump. Actually, that's an aside. But what it tells you in real time is that those prices were probably suppressed during the Biden administration. The administration had a very anti-crypto policies in place. A lot of them were arbitrary and capricious, and don't go by me. Those are actually court cases that were won by the crypto industry. And so I think the normalization of regulation that's going to happen in the Trump administration has unleashed this price discovery. And so I like to tell people that those prices, or would have been the 2022 prices, had Gary Gensler had just followed the administrative law and processed and approved the Bitcoin Cash ETF way back in 2022, but he decided not to do that. He got brutalized in court, lost several cases, was forced to put the Bitcoin ETF on the ledger, the best, most successful ETF launch in history, Major, back in January of last year. And so these prices for Bitcoiners like me, people that really study this market, they're fairly valued prices, and we predict that Bitcoin will probably end the year closer to 200,000, and not anywhere near the prices that it's trading at right now.
Anthony, what did it mean within this larger conversation and the people who love and trade in digital currencies for President Trump to pardon Russ Ulbricht this week?
So the original people, sort of that OG, like they say, the original group of people that were early stage Bitcoiners were thrilled with that decision. Mr. Ulbricht, if you will, got life imprisonment with no opportunity to parole. And he was a little bit of a nerdy guy that created this thing called the Silk Road. The Silk Road sort of exploded and got used for all different types of nefarious things, including money laundering and arms sales and et cetera.
Drug transactions.
Yeah, exactly. Drug transactions. He got prosecuted for the creation of this thing. Big mistake on his part. A lot of people in the cryptocurrency industry felt that he was over-prosecuted, if you will, or that sentence of a lifetime imprisonment for a 29-year-old was unjust. Mr. Trump heard their pleas, and he pardoned them in the first week of his second term of his presidency. So I'm not as close to that situation as some of the OG people are. I got to Bitcoin in 2020. Ross and the other guys got there in 2009-10, so I'm not as familiar with the fact set, but I can tell you that there's Bitcoiners, the original Bitcoiners, are very pleased with that decision by Donald Trump to pardon him.
Scaramucci distinguishes Bitcoin from other cryptocurrencies, calling it a durable, secure store of value, unlike meme coins, which he compares to gambling tokens. He cites Neil Ferguson's The Ascent of Money to highlight Bitcoin's economic strengths, reinforcing its status as the best performing asset of the past decade. He also criticizes Trump's launch of a personal digital currency, pointing out the ethical concerns of owning 80% of a token valued at $24 billion. A Wall Street Journal editorial raised concerns about potential conflicts of interest, warning that such actions could damage the administration's credibility. However, Scaramucci praised Trump's decision to pardon Ross Ulbricht, the Silk Road creator sentenced to life in prison. Many in the crypto community saw the sentence as excessive, and Trump's move was well received by early Bitcoin supporters. Can crypto regulations strike the right balance between investor protection and innovation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights.